adjustments to the agenda? That's what you need for Karen.
Yeah.
Karen, do you have any adjustments to the agenda?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. Select board announcements? Anyone?
Oh, yes. I did meet with Rachel and I'm going to, about the open meeting law, and I'm gonna get on the agenda the next time around to talk to you all about the steps to take to correspond with all of the different boards and committees.
Thank you.
All right, public comment, not on the agenda. Mr. Fairman.
Mr. Chairman, I have a few items this evening. I'll be brief. First, now that Alice Holloway Drive has been closed permanently, I would suggest, obviously it has. They leave the fences up all the time. They've dug up most of the street, and today they painted lines where they're going to dig up most of the rest of the street at the corner, apparently to install sewer. So I take the liberty of suggesting that the sign that says it's open except during construction hours be removed or taken down. And when you come out from Alice Holloway Drive onto Old Route 5, the detour sign only points to the right. I would suggest that it point in both directions because southbound traffic really should turn left, and this would be good for the folks who live up Old Route 5. And of course, it also means that, there's more traffic in that oblique intersection where where Old Route 5 and Route 5 merge. To my knowledge, during the past week, there have been 2 false fire alarms at Soundview Paper. One of them I chanced to be walking by when our firefighters and fire trucks were already there, and the other one I phoned in and talked to the 911 dispatcher, who said, really, we never know, so we do have to dispatch them. But the point is, they're all false alarms, and they cost us money, not to mention disturbing a lot of people's personal lives or work lives, as the case may be. So I'm suggesting that perhaps our town manager should look into how they could be warned to fix this so it doesn't keep happening. It's the fire alarm. When I walked up to the office door, there used to be a sign that had the caretaker's phone number. It's not there anymore. But the fire alarm panel is right there, and there's a strobe light flashing, and it says fire. So definitely it's the fire alarm that's gone off. And of course the 911 operator could hear it, so. Okay, that's enough for that. At the last meeting, the question arose about replacing our listers with appraisal firms. I checked the Vermont Department of Taxes website. They have certified 14 appraisal firms to do appraisals in Vermont. So we certainly have our pick. And of course, it wasn't mentioned then, but just for the public, there would have to be a town meeting vote to switch from listers to an appraisal firm. At that meeting, you may recall there were a couple of people here, and and inside track was mentioned. I would offer 3 words of advice. Don't be obvious. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fairman.
I have two points. One is that, as I've learned, that detours, there has to be an official detour route, and generally it's the route that either DOT or the town of Putney puts up. People obviously find their way to the best shortcut for themselves, and I assume that the people who live on Old Route 5 know how to get around town. So they wouldn't need to have a detour sign. It's just you have to have an official sign, and having 2 ways to go, I could see introducing confusion to the people who don't live around here. The second one is reappraisal companies. Yeah, there are 14 certified appraisal companies in Vermont. They do appraisals. Most of them do just appraisals, not day-to-day appraisal work. And more fundamentally, there are not that many who work with Patriot specifically, which is our CAMA system. So just putting that out there. And I believe we were deciding that we weren't going to do away with the listers. The listers would still be a board overseeing grievances and the day-to-day activities of the office, and that we would hire a contractor to do the actual site visits and appraisal work. That's what I understood it to be.
Anybody else? Mr. Fairman?
Mr. Chairman, further to what the previous speaker just said, the Vermont Department of Taxes simply says that these firms are certified to do the work. By the way, there's 7 pages, because beyond that they have a list of certified supervisors and then a list of certified appraisers. Now, I would assume that they probably work with all computer systems, simply because that's how you make a living. Regarding the detour, because of course people who live around here know their way, but on the weekends there are a lot of visitors to Putney at the Putney Food Co-op. I see them, and of course I see the plates. You know, they're here to visit their offspring at all the various schools. Now, they don't know what's happening when they go out there, except if they have some sense of direction. If you'd like to go south, you would turn left, except the detour sign says turn right. So they're likely to believe that for some reason you can't get through if you go south, so you have to go north. Now, we all know that's not true, and it might be well to have it point both ways so that people can make the obvious decision and go whichever way they wish. Regarding the scenarios that were mentioned for whether we would have listers or appraisers or a combination, actually what I'm going to do to avoid further conjecture here, at your next meeting I will print out and bring to you what the Vermont Department of Taxes actually says, which are, we have mentioned 2 scenarios, there are actually 4. And because I've not memorized them, I'm not going to venture to tell you now, but I will say that at the next meeting, should I be able to attend, I'll bring you the information from the Vermont Department of Taxes website, because it actually is very well explained. We do actually have 4 options, of the one only listers, and the other, of course, only appraisers, but there's 2 in between, and they list in detail the pros and cons of each one. It's really well done, so I'll do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that most appraisal companies work with only one appraisal software.
Okay. All right, moving on. Approval of minutes for October 29th and November 5th.
So I was not here on the October 29th meeting. So I wanted to do them separately.
We could do that.
So somebody make a motion.
I'll move to approve the minutes of October 29, 2025 as drafted.
Second.
Second?
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay, your motion for November 5th.
Move to approve the minutes of November 5, 2025 as drafted.
Second?
with everyone? All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, moving on to the warrants to the treasurer.
Why do we have two of them? Why are we separating these out? I move to approve and execute the warrants of November 14th, 2025 upon completion of review.
Second.
Karen?
Payroll warrant dated November 14th, 2025 in the amount of $20,572.54. No questions?
No.
Pretty straightforward.
Okay. Accounts payable dated November 1st through November 14th, 2025 in the amount of $97,688.66.
Anything of note?
A couple things. So Advantage Truck Group is for the 2018 Western Star, which is the one that we're waiting to trade in. Consolidated Communications is a little bit higher. The library had actually 3 bills that were delayed in paying. They're caught up at this point. The Sourcey is in the amount of $2,559. That is service on engine 1 and 2. And then on the second page at the very bottom, Reynolds and Son, $12,894.19 is 3 sets of fire gear. And when I say fire gear, it's turnout gear, jacket, pants. And then Simon Operations Services on page 3, $16,810. There's a little bit of extra in there because of the Putney Inn. For the pump that went down.
Any questions on that?
On page 2, also Houghton Sanitary Services, as you can see, that's for the Putney Inn for sucking out the tank because we're operating on 1 pump right now.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Question, can you turn the volume down a little bit on that? Just a bit.
Mr. Fairman?
Mr. Chairman, apropos turnout gear, I ran across the other day an interview with a fire chief. And he mentioned that, just to let the public know what turnout gear is for, he mentioned that when firefighters go into a building wearing turnout gear, that the temperature in there may be as high as 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit. He also said that they're having a lot of problems now because of petroleum-based upholstery and also petroleum-based glues for laminated beams and so on. They fail very quickly, and also because they burn hotter, they're now looking at it being 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit in there. Now, the reason I mention it is to let the public know that our firefighters are even braver than we had imagined. You know, just imagine going in where the temperature is that high. Steel is melting. Well, you know, they do the job, nevertheless. Wow.
Thank you.
Sorry, we're getting a little bit of feedback. I think it's from all of us. Not sure where it's coming from. Testing.
I think it was this one.
Did you
I muted it.
muted that one?
Oh, no.
I can still
it's
hear it.
Is it on the TV?
Might be.
Too many devices.
Make sure the TV's muted.
Oh yeah, it's not. I don't think it is.
Does anyone know what? Oh,
Well, actually, no. I don't know how you. Yeah, you have to. You
it's
got the
muted.
77 there. Okay.
Is it better?
I don't know. No.
What about now?
Is it that one?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think, and also maybe
I think it's okay.
Karen's.
Can we get
I think I fixed it.
1, 2, 3?
Not hearing it over here, the feedback.
I think it's. I'm not hearing this
Okay.
one anymore.
Sorry. Okay.
Karen, why don't you go ahead with the town manager report? See.
Sorry.
I don't have one.
Okay, perfect.
Giddy up.
All right, nothing under boards, committees, and commissions. So we'll move on to Selectboard New Business. Fuel bids, 2026.
So in your packet is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 companies that submitted oil and propane bids that were requested by us. Also on this document is the 24-25 heating oil and propane contract that we currently have with Irving. So oil's at $2.71, and propane is $1.49. And going back up to the top of the document, Irving has the lowest propane at $1.53.2, and HB Energy has the lowest bid for oil at $2.829. Now, I'm not quite sure how Irving does it with the propane, that they're so low. But it's a good thing for towns, although it has gone up, as you can see from last year. The oil, even though HB Energy is at 2.829 per gallon, we have to consider when we switch oil vendors, providers, that they're going to have to look at our oil tanks and certify that they are in compliance with state regulations. The one at the town hall could be questionable because it's too close to the wall in the basement. And we've been advised to like jackhammer some of that cement away from the wall, which I'm not willing to do for an oil tank. But if the select board chooses to do that, that is your decision. Right now we have Irving. So Irving for oil is 2.86. My question to the board is, do you go with the lower price and risk maybe we're going to have to change the oil tank out downstairs at town hall? Or do you stay with Irving and pray we have a renovation project happening next year?
Karen, don't they have to ascertain that the oil tank is safe and appropriate, even if we don't change providers? I mean, doesn't Irving still have to?
It's every 5 years.
I thought we were on.
Yeah.
I thought they changed it to be like every 2 years now or something.
They definitely changed it, but it's like, it's not every year.
No. So
It's not every year, no. Only when you change providers, Peg.
it can't only be when you change providers. They must have to do it at intervals.
Well, I'm sure they have to check it, but I don't know what the, if it's 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, I don't know.
But your sense is that with Irving, it's not going to be an issue, but if we switch to somebody else.
Correct, because I haven't done anything. They continue to deliver oil.
The jackhammering that you spoke of, is that on a foundation wall?
Yes,
I don't like the sound of that at all.
I do not eat either, Fletcher.
There's something to be said to have the same company for doing
Yeah.
both.
Yeah.
So, and there's not a big, it's a 3 cent
Yeah.
difference.
Right.
Yeah, I am a little concerned about this oil tank though. So I don't want to cause a big, kerfuffle, but I wouldn't want something to happen either. I don't know why they don't, what's the reason for keeping it away from the wall specifically?
I think it's the way the foundation is. If you go downstairs, it's not a straight wall. It's a rock foundation and it's been filled in and it's just too close to the tank. The tank's not going to move anywhere. I just don't.
But is it like a safety thing or a convenience thing?
An environmental thing.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a compliance thing.
Yeah, but I'm wondering why, I guess I'm specifically wondering, especially now that we're discussing this in open meeting, if, say, the insurance company got a hold of the fact that our oil tank might not be compliant, whether that would cause a problem if it failed and it spilled oil all over the basement. I don't know. Can you kind of quietly look into the condition of our oil tank somehow?
It's not the condition, it's the placement of the tank.
Okay. I guess I'm curious why they would care, and whether we would be in trouble if something happened.
I can look into that.
Well, we got renovated,
Right.
but I just stay with Irving.
We're trying to get away from diesel, so, this is the other thing. If we can move forward with a renovation, potentially, it's going to be a non-issue, right? Let me just tell you, we used last year 462 gallons here at Town Hall. So if it's a 3 cent difference, is it going to matter?
No, I'm not worried about that part. I'm just
Right.
worried about the oil tank in particular.
So that'd be my
So-
opinion is go with Irving.
Yeah.
Me too.
I think for convenience, it makes sense.
I hear a motion.
I make a motion to approve the contract for Irving Energy for the price of oil at 2.86 and propane for 1.532 for the term dates of 11/1/2025 to 10/31/2026.
Second.
Any public comment? Mr. Fairman?
Mr. Chairman, first, I agree with, I believe it is Select Person Proctor's, that he didn't like the sound of working on the foundation. That is something that should be done only with the advice and supervision of an architect. Because when you start messing around with the foundation of the building, it's holding everything else up, that's all. Also, although I'm not going to give you legal advice here, from my business background, I can say that when a new company comes into a situation like this, what they have to do is protect themselves by checking that the tank is in compliance. Because if they don't, then they are in trouble. So if something happens. So it's not a matter of there being a danger of an oil spill. It is simply what they're doing is a standard, what they would do is a standard business practice. We have to be sure that everything is okay so that we are covered in the event of whatever. So, you know, there's no actual urgency there. I also mentioned that considering retriggering the heating system of this building just as the heating season is beginning could potentially or run up against a problem of risk of pipes freezing and so on because the heating isn't running today.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Zoning administrator.
Do we have to?
Oh,
You
yeah.
do have to vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, zoning administrator discussion.
In your packet is the draft zoning budget for FY '27. There is an increase of $21,000 overall. And I am going to ask for direction from the select board. I also wrote a memo. By the way, I don't expect a vote on this tonight. I need you folks to read through this and we come back and we talk about it some more. So basically, I have outlined in this document, one, the draft budget, and the first line item in that draft budget is a zoning administrator salary. That is based on 300 hours. That's approximately what I do a year. But it's at a rate of $110 an hour, which is considerably high. Depending on how we approach this, it could be substantially lower. So as you folks know, and I know we're going to be talking about town manager performance later on. So the town manager is the zoning administrator, the finance director, and the delinquent tax collector by contract with the town of Putney. By default, the town manager is the road commissioner, and that is state statute. The town manager is also the deputy health officer as outlined in a job description here at Town Hall. I have given you the average per hour for town manager in the state of Vermont. I've given you the zoning administrator average per hour, the median, and the average, and it's based on full or part-time. And by default, the zoning administrator is also the floodplain manager. You have the delinquent tax collector average per hour. Basically, folks, the finance director as well as the town manager must consider all practices and implications thereof. My example is a zoning bylaw modernization, whether the result could limit or impact on town operations. So in some situations, this may create a perceived conflict of interest. And I bring this up because as I was engaging in the process to rewrite the zoning bylaws, there was a section that it was drafted to be put in, and it has since been taken out, which is the forest blocks. And as town manager and the finance director, I'm looking for revenue streams in anything that may have an impact on growing a grand list, to me, is a conflict of interest because of my titles that I have with the town of Putney. So I've been in a couple uncomfortable places while I've been going through the zoning bylaw modernization process. And, you know, it's just not a good place to be, folks. So I would like to have this board consider how to restructure the zoning administrator position. And this may be a conversation with the planning commission and or the development review board and or VLCT legal counsel. The new amendments to the zoning and subdivision bylaws will create a strain by adding more review and time to process applications effectively and efficiently for the zoning administrator. And I enjoy being the town manager and the finance director, so I'm really encouraging this board to work with me to find a solution, not only to have efficient and effective processes for zoning, but also to be able to enforce the zoning bylaws.
Karen, can you give us some more examples of just the conflict of interest that you're referring to? Just so I understand it clearly.
Yeah. So when I look at the big picture, Peg, you know, I can see, you know, the value of land that's in current use, although we get in lieu of, you know, the state pays that it's not a loss, but they pay that difference, okay? When properties are municipally exempt, that's, you know, a burden on the taxpayers because it's shifted back to the taxpayers. Any land that's in land trusts is also has a lower assessment value, you know, that property taxes are paid. And adding additional limitations to land development through our zoning bylaws could really financially impact in other areas. So it's tough enough in Putney, and I've always said this, Putney is rich in municipal property tax revenue, and they're poor in, I'm going to lose my train of thought, rich in property tax exemption, sorry, and poor in property tax revenue. So, you know, to me, that's a struggle. And I have to be, you know, mindful of this. So when I'm looking at these zoning bylaws and, you know, I'm quiet right now, but, you know, the state mandates certain changes, but they don't know the full implications on small rural municipalities. And, you know, that's something that needs to change at the state level.
What I'm hearing is that there's some pretty difficult juggling of competing interests going on, but I haven't heard it as a conflict of interest yet. It's just a hard job to juggle competing interests, which I agree with. It's, you know, this is not simple, and it's not going to get simpler.
I can see it as being a perceived conflict of interest for sure.
Yes.
Especially if you get into, you know, something that is contentious and ends up going to court. The fact that the finance director is also writing the bylaws and that particular property went up or down in value and got restricted or didn't get restricted, I can see that coming up. I know we've had this discussion in the past on how to take this off of the town manager's hands anyway. So, you know, I think we're gonna run into the same thing that we've run into before, which is that we either foot the bill for a full-time person and or try to share that service with other towns. And I know we've tried that model before and it hasn't worked out very well. Maybe we didn't find the right person. Maybe it just doesn't work. I know of other towns that do it successfully, but you know, when you start sharing resources, you also don't get a full-time person. So that might cause a problem when you start working in, you know, violations and other things. So.
Something. No, that's
I
just.
think that's Karen.
So can I add to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Eileen, you're right. So we did try that in January. It worked out for like 3 months. And I will explain that shared zoning administrator was shared with 2 other towns, one in Windsor County and one in Windham County and Putney. That person was working remote from Ohio because she had no housing. She could not find housing here. The other thing too, she realized she needed more hours in Putney. And she couldn't handle what she was doing with the other 2 towns and having to add more hours to Putney. So your idea of a shared zoning administrator is spot on. And that is something I'd be willing to work with the select board to pursue. Somebody that's potentially doing that work already for another town and wanting more hours to do zoning would work. It's just finding the right person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to me like definitely worth trying again. It just seemed like we had a bad hire, you know, and it just didn't work. But the model, I think, is a very good idea, and I would strongly encourage us to pursue that again.
Thank you, Peg.
Yeah.
I agree. So I just want to leave this with the board, just to look over the package and maybe come up with some sort of a plan.
I have another question. I know it's hard to answer this question because we're in the process of changing the zoning regs, you know, but to your best knowledge, what percentage of an FTE do you think Putney is likely to need?
I don't think we're going to need a full-time person.
Right. What percentage do you think? I mean, do you think we need?
Well, here's the thing, Peg. So we're having phase 1 of the zoning bylaws, maybe by February for adoption by the select board. But then there's a second phase that's gonna come back for the forest blocks. And it's hard to say right now. I think with the current version that we have without the forest blocks, maybe 40%. Yeah, it could be, if it's, I don't believe it would ever be 20 hours a week. That's, I mean, although if we end up adding a housing coordinator for, based on the housing needs assessment, and that person's working with the zoning office as well, there could be a lot of work for a zoning administrator. It's kind of hard to say right now, Peg.
So what's the next step in moving this towards, a shared zoning
Well,
administrator?
we can put a request for proposal. We can solicit if we know zoning administrators that might want to pick up some extra hours. And if we do that, I would circle around our area,
Mhm.
In Windham County. And yeah, just start asking some questions.
Great.
Do you have a job description for that?
Yeah, I do, but I probably want to update it.
Okay.
I can present that at the next meeting.
Sure.
Job description. The other thing too is I have been collecting requests for proposals from other towns, looking for zoning administrators, and they do have the rates in those requests for proposals, so I can share that with the board as well, just to give you an idea of what other towns are doing. And it's not going to be apples to apples, folks. We already know this. It's going to depend on, size of the town, how many taxable properties, the whole 9 yards. But I think we can design something that can work for Putney.
Mhm. Well, let's do it. Yeah.
All right. Who am I working with?
I can work with you, Karen.
Okay, Eileen, I think this might be great for you.
Yeah,
Then you'll be prepared.
I'll be. Dive into that one.
All right. Thank you.
Any public comment? Mr. Fairman?
Mr. Chairman, 3 items. First, 2 questions. One is, you've all been talking, or I should say, our town manager has been talking about hourly rates. I've understood that these positions are salaried. Am I mistaken?
Yes,
So they do, the zoning administrator gets an hourly rate for when there's, so to speak, a job.
I
yes.
think it depends on the town, but I mean, part-time definitely would be
Hourly.
Well, I was thinking about Putney, because here we are. Okay, I offer the observation that there is another possibility for finding someone, and that is a senior who is experienced, is on pension, has Medicare, and would like some part-time work, and may be able to do it more cheaply than someone who needs the income that a senior has from Social Security and has to pay for health care instead of Medicare, which is really a pretty good deal as one who's on it. Finally, that conflict of interest question I thought was quite interesting because, once again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm just offering some thoughts here. I would say the question is, whose interest? A public official is acting in the public interest, not in one's personal interest. And unless there's something going on behind the scenes, such as kickbacks and so on, which of course is not the case here, I don't really, I truly wonder whether a conflict of interest is even possible, because the public interest simply is. There may be debate about what the public interest is, but there's no question that there is a public interest that is independent of everyone who happens to be a member of the public or an official on behalf of the public. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Okay. Moving on to Selectboard Old Business. Regulating the disposal of solid waste. Fletcher?
Yeah, I'm still need to connect with Larry about his rebuttable presumption language that he parachuted in.
Okay.
I really think that needs to be more fleshed out.
So we'll table that.
Yeah, till next time around.
Alright. Rules of procedure for the select board.
Well, you know, you got my best shot. Last draft was, you know, where things stand. So if there's feedback on that, I'm happy to hear it.
My feedback, one of my major concerns, I know that you're trying to change the tone of when it comes to public participation. I know that's of concern to you, but I am not comfortable with especially given that this is going out. It is meant to inform the public about how they can expect to participate in a select board meeting. I really don't think that referencing town meeting, you know, much like the rules at town meeting, I think that's a problematic framing.
I think you're not looking at the most recent version that was, because that comment came up before and that language was removed.
Oh,
That's what we have in our, that's what I have
that's
Be
what.
aware.
under public participation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's not, the town meeting stuff came out. I took
No,
that
it's still
paragraph
there,
out.
much like the rules that apply to town meeting.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that much like that got seriously pared down
Oh, okay.
in response to the last round of
Okay, well, I'm
comments,
giving
but-
my feedback that
Okay.
this is still, I don't think it's super helpful to the public to frame their engagement in select board meetings, you know, by saying it's, you know, by comparing it to town meeting, because to me, they're two really different things, and their role is very different. So that's my suggestion, is that the references to town meeting be taken out.
Okay, I'll take a pass at that.
Eileen?
So I have a couple of my opinion. The organization of the board, first of all, I don't think the clerk should be in charge of the agendas. I think that's the job of the chair. I've also taken a look at other towns and how they've organized their boards, and most of them, especially the 5-people boards, don't have clerks at all. So I think we might want to consider taking that out, because it's a little bit extraneous. Again, in agendas, I don't think the clerk should have the determination. I think that's the job of the chair. In number 3, previous majority of this board took out additions to the agenda. Just didn't allow additions to the agenda.
Wait, where are you there?
Agenda's number 3.
F. Wait, just 1 minute, let me get there. Okay, F number 3, okay.
Yeah, specifically because we've had incidences where we've added things to the agenda and people haven't had a chance to chime in, or people who weren't at the meeting didn't have a chance to defend themselves.
Well,
I don't, so I'm still talking here. Just gonna go through all of them. I don't like the squishiness of the public participation piece at all. I feel like that needs to be set in fairly straightforward language. We don't have a specific time in here. I think we should have specific times for public comments on items in public comment and as well between agenda items. And there's another piece in here that this board had added previous to in here where we added specific language, and I can't remember where this is, but we added specific language about who may request agenda items. And it was limited to boards and committee members only. And then if there was public comment that we wanted to take up as an agenda item, that the board could then vote to put that on the next agenda. I feel that's important. There's probably other pieces to that as well. Also the hybrid stuff. There was specific language on hybrid meetings about how to conduct a hybrid meeting, which I still don't see in here. We talk about board members being allowed to be electronic, which is state statute, but there's nothing in here about how to conduct it with the public.
Well, in regard to the clerk setting the agenda, I don't think that's what it says. But to be honest, frankly, Eileen, when you were chair and I asked how to get things onto the agenda, you told me just to talk to Karen. There wasn't, as far as I could tell, board participation in the process at all. I agree with you, the chair should be involved in it, and my understanding is that after Karen and I go over it, Eric then meets with Karen. I assume there's a problem.
Yeah, every Monday
Yeah.
before the meeting, I usually.
Then that should be in the procedure.
No. I don't think anybody's preventing someone from being involved.
That
in
wasn't
it.
the point. The point was that the job of the
I'm
chair
still talking.
is to,
I'm still talking, please. I think the idea was the problem that I was confronted with was that there wasn't anything that defined how that agenda was being set, and it seemed to be being set solely by the town manager. I absolutely agree that the town manager has a better handle on the range of issues that are floating around out there, but what I was trying to address was the lack of explicit involvement by the board. I don't know what other boards do. The statute on formation of the board says that, not mandatory, but that a clerk could be elected at the formative meeting, the first meeting after town meeting, and that plus the fact that the open meeting law explicitly makes it the job of the clerk of the board to provide the information requested in an in a public records request. If we don't have a clerk, I don't know how we do that. So, squishiness, I don't know what that means, but that may be exactly what I was after, is squishiness. I thought the harshness of the policy when I encountered it, I found, as I've said before repeatedly, I found it off-putting. Right now I don't have the existing policy in front of me to pull out that hybrid meeting language, but my
Should be in there.
recollection of it is all that I did to it was broke it into a couple paragraphs instead of having one mega paragraph that I found a little impenetrable.
Eileen?
Yeah, I don't know which statute refers to the clerk as the public records request person, but I'm pretty sure that's the town clerk, not a clerk of the board. And I think there's I think the existing policy is in there, if anybody wants to look at it. Yeah, I mean, I just, you know, I'm amenable to changing our rules of procedure, but again, I think rewriting it from scratch is the wrong way to go about it. And I don't agree with the squishiness, so I wouldn't be able to vote for that.
Well,
Fletcher.
it wasn't from scratch, it was, and the reason I did it is frankly because you said to me, rewrite it then. If you don't like it, rewrite it. So I did. Anyway, I'm sorry, Peg.
That's okay. It seems like there's a couple places where there is conflict here. One, and so I think we should just like go for them one at a time. The issue about the clerk and who sets the agenda. I think we should hone in on that and see what we're comfortable with there and talk about that as a group. That seems like a clear one, and the public participation thing seems very clear. And so those are the two that seem like they need our attention.
Okay.
I'm a little confused about when it comes to the agenda, it doesn't seem to be describing here what we are doing. So, so if those who wish to be added to the meeting shall contact the town manager by Thursday before the meeting to request inclusion on the agenda. It sounds like it really is in consultation with the chair of the board. It's the chair that shall determine the final content of the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I think that needs to change from what it says here.
Okay, and that's, I mean, I think the last few months, Karen and I feel, have had very productive discussions about this, but I absolutely have no objection that, sure, the chair, in fact, my understanding is Eric always has the final pass at it, so.
So if we change that wording to chair,
Yeah,
we're
well,
comfortable
or
with that?
put in, you know, if the clerk gets to do what we've been doing for some months now, which is the clerk meets with the town manager and comes up with a draft and subject to the chair's final approval.
If we decide to have a clerk.
I don't know. I mean, if that would add, we need to add a whole nother piece there then. Because right now, in consultation with the town manager, the blank shall determine the final content
I get that.
of the agenda.
And
So
as I'm
I would
saying,
like to
that's
add
not a huge addition to the sentence.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that we've been operating that way for months now, and it seems to have been reasonably smooth. I mean, my concern is just, well, one of the things that I like about working with Karen is that between the two of us, we pretty much keep track of issues that, you know, she's got her set of priorities, and they're not necessarily going to pay attention to all the things the board brings up. So I like to be able to have a discussion where we say, yeah, there's also board concerns.
Great. Well, that doesn't preclude any of that happening. Changing the language there doesn't preclude any of that.
No, I mean, I think, as I say, to reflect the reality of how we've been doing it for some months now,
Then we would need, just put another sentence in there,
or even another clause, but not a
Yeah.
big change.
right? So, I don't know what we want to do about this public participation thing, because that's where the philosophical difference really seems to rest. And I don't know how we want to make a decision about how we want to proceed with that.
Well, I mean, I can see the reference to town meeting being misleading. On the other hand, I think if you look at the spirit of the open meeting law, it does invite more public participation than the language I started out with. And as I say, this thing was not tabula rasa. It started with the existing and then tried to rewrite it to make it a little more welcoming. But and I would strongly suggest that the open meeting law, the spirit of the open meeting law, does invite public participation. And that the purpose of it isn't to, the vandals aren't at the gate. We're not trying to control them. We really want to welcome people into participating in the process. That's my philosophy.
Right, and my philosophy, I agree, and I'm also really interested in welcoming the community to become involved in the select board and participating. And I feel like if we have select board meetings that become rather unruly and long into the evening, and that we're not encouraging people to participate, that doesn't create an environment that encourages people to participate in the select board. And we haven't, we've had over the years that I've been on the select board, we haven't had this struggle so much this round in this last year. But, there have been times where it's been really, really, really difficult. And I think it's really helpful to have guidelines about what the time limits are, what the expectations are of how the board is going to manage public participation. And it's not because I don't want, and anybody could see how much I've been eager to include public participation, but I really don't want us to I want us to have some guidelines around that keep the board meeting from becoming ridiculously long and exhausting.
Yeah, I'd second that. I'd say we haven't had any controversial issues come up in the last 9 months. It will happen.
Right.
And someday we're gonna have 25, 50 people on there, and this room is gonna be standing room only, and the person that's gonna need to manage that meeting is sitting in that chair right now. And if you have squishy participation rules, you don't have much guideline. If you have very strong ones, you do. What you do with those and how you manage them, that's the way that you chair. But if you have them down on a piece of paper that you can refer to back and say, these are our rules, and everyone agreed to them, then the meetings go a lot smoother than if you just have it be, this is what we'd like you to do. This is how we'd like to run this meeting.
So
We might have a time frame.
right.
So
So are you talking mainly about time?
I'm talking about having it be fairly straightforward, strict language that we have currently. If you want to soften that, as a statement at the beginning, to have, something more along the lines of, please don't interrupt and please be respectful, soften that language, I find that's fine. But I think everybody needs to have an expectation of that this is a meeting of the select board. It's not a meeting of everybody. It just isn't. So I can't go with this. I can't go with this version at all.
But can you give some, I mean, I want to get the specifics of what you can go with.
In
So,
here?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, like there's pieces that are missing, from the original. There are pieces that this board added, that we added for specific reasons, that are missing. We definitely should have a time frame. I think we should make it clear that this is a meeting of the select board. I think that language is important. I think we should have, one of the things that was taken out was the ability to remove people from the room, which I think is important. I don't think it should be, it obviously shouldn't be used all the time, but, things get heated, we have to have a sheriff here for whatever reason, and we need to be able to remove people.
If necessary, to allow the board the time it needs to handle the business immediately pending before it, the chair may limit the time for public discussion and/or require that further discussion be focused on issues germane to issues already on the agenda. If necessary to maintain an orderly discussion, the chair may call the meeting to order and remind the members of the need for decorum. If the meeting will not come to order, the chair may declare a recess, table the issue under discussion, or adjourn the meeting to a time and place certain. I don't think, unless you've got a deputy here, I don't know how you're going to drag somebody out of the meeting. You can rule them out of order, you can tell them they've used up their time, but to physically eject somebody from the meeting, you're right. Not only do I think that presents real practical problems, I think it also isn't really good. If things have disintegrated to that point, we ought to adjourn the meeting or take a recess. It's trying to physically remove somebody from the meeting that's a heavy lift. I'd hate to see that happen.
Mr. Fairman?
Mr. Chairman, first, I second what Select Person Faulkner has just said. And of course, I as well favor orderly meetings. I am a big fan of Robert's Rules of Order, wherein there are many rules having to do with how members, as they are called, must conduct themselves in a meeting. And we certainly can refer to those. I want to remind you, though, that you are under some constraints. First, Vermont is a Dillon's rule state, so therefore the legislature tells you what you may do and also tells you what you shall do. Example, 1 VSA section 312H, that's the Vermont Open Meeting Law. I quote, "At an open meeting, the public shall be given a reasonable opportunity to express its opinion on matters considered by the public body during the meeting, as long as order is maintained. Public comment shall be subject to reasonable rules established by the chairperson." Okay. Now, I have shared with you what the Vermont Supreme Court wrote in the Severson versus City of Burlington, which is that members of the public who are speaking under 1 VSA section 312H are exercising a constitutional right under Chapter 1, Article 6 of the Constitution of the State of Vermont. Now, constitutional rights are not collective, they are individual. So that means that every person who wishes to speak has an individual right to speak. Now, standard rules of order limit how long a person may speak without consent to speak longer. But I will offer that you cannot, in fact, limit how many people can speak if more than the number you think should be allowed to speak are wishing to exercise their constitutional right to speak. And referring back to Severson and the Vermont Supreme Court, I'm pretty sure they would disagree, that they would agree with this, which the Supreme Court of New Hampshire often write. I quote, "We are the final arbiters of what the law means in accordance with legislative intent." So in that regard, while you may think you can put some limits on how people can participate in a meeting because of the meeting in the public, not of the public, the Vermont Supreme Court, I believe, would beg to differ. And I've just quoted the Supreme Court of New Hampshire as how the Vermont Supreme Court likely would react if you disagreed with them. So I shall be advocating, and I shall continue to second what Selectperson Proctor is advocating, and shall also remind you now and then that the Vermont Supreme Court have said that 1 VSA Section 312H refers to a constitutional right. By the way, because I have this opportunity, Selectperson Proctor, sometime at your convenience, I should like to meet with you concerning certain aspects of your draft. But I emphasize at your convenience, because you're working and I'm not.
Let's talk after the meeting.
Sure.
Set a time.
Yeah.
We want to keep going round and round with this, or we want to take some time and
I mean,
some different wording?
I can renew my request if there's things that people want added or changed. Send me some language.
Have you jotted down the things that we've said today? Do we need to reiterate them?
No, I've been making notes on my copy of it.
Okay. All right.
But if there are more elaborate changes, it would be helpful to see some language.
I think it's useful I'm not at all opposed to starting the public participation with something that's a little bit more welcoming than we have had in the past. I'll just reiterate that I want the references to town meeting out because I think it's confusing for people to know the difference between that representative role that we're in and the direct democracy role that happens at town meeting. And I think the language about it's a meeting in the public but not of the public is actually really useful. So I don't think we have to lead with that as our first statement, but I do think that's kind of I would like to see that in there clearly.
That language I discovered came from a draft prepared by the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. They've revised their draft to take that out.
Oh, interesting. I just find it helpful to...
Yeah, I find it is a very short and sweet way of saying that this
Right.
is our meeting
Right.
and we need to conduct the business of the town with public input, and the public's allowed to see us and comment, but
Right. So, those are some of my things.
Any other board comments before we back to public comment? Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman, to put it bluntly, you all are obliged to comply with statute and case law. Now, I forgot to mention earlier, you were talking about the clerk. Here's the statute on the subject of the clerk, 24 VSA Section 871A. I quote, "Forthwith after its election and qualification, the select board shall organize and elect a chair and, if so voted, a clerk from among its number and file a certificate of such election for record in the office of the town clerk." So it appears that clerk is statutory but also optional. Because it says it's so voted, presumably by the select person. So, it isn't as though the clerk, the reason I bring this up is it isn't as though clerk is an office that someone here, perhaps this gentleman, has concocted. It is in statute, although it is optional. Thank you.
Thank you.
Interestingly, what's lacking from that statute is a vice chair.
Yes.
which I think is a very useful position in case of the absence of the chair, but the statute doesn't even consider it.
You're right, and that's so odd, because obviously at some points, and sometimes the chair is going to be absent because life is like that.
Yeah.
So are we in agreement?
Back to the drawing board.
Try it again. Alright, moving on. Town manager performance and evaluation.
Let's see, what I-
Okay, what do I have of yours? I just want to make sure I'm good.
I think you gave me that,
Okay.
my original.
Okay, so that's me. We had talked about doing more of a 360 review of the town manager this time around. So this is my attempt to start thinking about how to do that, although I would like, it's more than thinking about how to do it. I would like, I'm proposing that we do it this way. Here, pass that around. Karen, do you want one of these so that you know what we're talking about?
She's coming.
This one piece,
These are all the same.
Yeah, they're all the same, it's just one page.
one page.
She's got it. It's just one page. Just on the front, I jotted a few notes. Reiterated what Karen just said about the multiple roles that she holds here. The goal is to complete this review by mid-December. My idea is to do it online using a Google form with questions tailored to participants' roles. So there would be a set of questions. If you look on the back, I have kind of categories of questions. So, and in order to do that, I was looking at a couple different towns' evaluations of their town managers, and from the evaluation that we did in the past for the town manager, the categories I have are select board relations, public relations, employee relations, fiscal management, intergovernmental affairs, leadership, communication, professionalism, and planning for emerging needs of the town. And this is my, I have down the left-hand side the people that would be invited to participate in this review would be the select board members, the managers, direct reports, town committee, commission chairs, a set of colleagues there, a set of community members that our town manager works particularly closely with. I included Larry Slayson in here and the town manager's self-evaluation. And
If you can get Larry Slayson to fill out.
this is, this would be an invitation. Nobody, perhaps I've been informed that direct reports have not been super interested in participating in evaluation. This is an invitation for people to evaluate. It's not a
Well,
requirement.
if you can anonymize it, I think they might. That was the issue I got
Right.
into. Was it
Well,
was,
I
it was going to be way too clear who was answering
Yeah.
the question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know quite how. I mean, I can
You can-
anonymize it,
Right.
but they would have to trust me to
Yeah.
anonymize it. So I can offer to do that and try to do that, but I can't. I don't think I can do the form without without
It
them
needs-
identifying themselves. I also would put out an invitation to anybody who wanted to do this verbally instead of doing it as a Google form. I'd be happy to sit down and talk with folks if they would prefer. So this was my just quick idea about the categories of questions that those groups would be invited to answer. But I'm super open to people's thoughts on you know, whether or not that makes sense to you. But it just doesn't seem like asking colleagues to talk about employee relations makes sense, or asking, you know, direct reports necessarily to talk about intergovernmental affairs. Just trying to ask the questions of the people that are most likely to have the information that they can give feedback on. So that, I just wanted to put that out and see if this is kind of what you guys, if this works for you all.
Looks good to me, yeah.
Because if so, I'll create a, you know, I'll add the questions and create a form that we can distribute.
I think it's great.
Yeah?
I think it's a
Yeah, I
great
like it.
way to organize thinking about it.
Okay. Do you all want to see the questions before? You know, my idea is to go back to the evaluations that we did in the past, use some of those questions, use some I pull from other sources, but adding a handful of questions to each of these. But I don't want it to be like
I don't need to see the questions. I feel like if there's like questions that don't work, it'll become obvious in the review process.
You okay with me proceeding?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably as long as most of the categories have a general, anything else you want to say?
Yeah.
Open-ended thing.
Yeah, of course. Karen, do you have any thoughts or feedback, questions? You're muted.
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
Yep.
So I guess the one question would be like, so town manager's self-evaluation. Will I be answering the same questions? What's that look like?
Well, I do think you would answer all of, provide some feedback on all of these, I would think. Your self-evaluation, and then a few other questions in addition, what are your goals for the year kind of questions,
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yes.
Okay.
That's
So
usually
really
how
there's-
reviews work, isn't
Yeah.
it? They
Yeah.
answer the same.
And probably
questions.
valuable to know what the folks were asked
Yeah.
when she's.
Yeah,
giving the
exactly.
feedback.
That would be, you'll know that way, all the questions that were asked.
Okay. Thank you.
Good.
Okay.
Well
Yeah.
done.
If anybody thinks I'm missing anybody or any category, let me know.
Yeah, I'm assuming you got the colleagues from Karen.
I got the colleagues from Karen.
Okay, so
Yes.
that's probably a good list.
Yeah.
Public comment, Mr. Fairman.
Mr. Chairman, I'm wondering about something here. Answering questionnaires creates records. Now, are these, I don't have the Vermont Public Records Act with me. I'm wondering, will these be public records by statute, whether or not you want them to be? So that is something that I would suggest you check so that you protect yourself against violating employer confidentiality. And in that regard as well, recalling that the Vermont Open Meeting Law has the intent of regulating what select boards do and how they do it. 1 VSA section 313, which is executive sessions 3, I quote, one of the reasons for an executive session is, and so I quote, the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee, provided that the public body shall make a final decision to hire or appoint a public officer or employee in an open meeting, and shall explain the reasons for its final decision during an open meeting. I'm simply raising the, if you like, rhetorical question of, if the Vermont Open Meeting Law says this is how it's done, how does that permit what is being proposed? And then reminding you once again that Well, the answered questionnaires, whether you like it or not, ipso facto, as lawyers say, they become public records. There's some nuances here about which you might want to consult an attorney.
Thank you. Eileen?
I already did consult both our town attorney and VLCT's human resources attorney when I first started this process. And so the way that we've been doing it is similar to what you're doing here. Personnel records, including reviews, are not subject to public records requests.
Mr. Fairman?
Mr. Chairman, the previous speaker is correct, but the interesting difference here is that a wide variety of members of the public are being asked to complete these questionnaires. In fact, the words were actually used, anyone else who is interested. Now this, at least implicitly, is a public process. And that is not the way employee evaluations are usually done in my experience in the corporate world. And I'm suggesting, in the interest of protecting our esteemed town manager, that you might wish to look into how broadly you can solicit input and still have this remain an actual performance evaluation, as opposed to some sort of public participation evaluation, which I suspect is simply, I'm not a lawyer, but I suspect it's not allowed, because it certainly is not in the private sector.
I don't intend to circulate it to anybody who wants to participate. Just to be clear, that's not my intent here. My intent is specifically targeted people who are in a position to give feedback. And
Yeah, I mean, you can double check with VLCT or Larry, but like I said, I already looked into this a few years ago, so it's not a concern.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, moving on. Holiday meeting dates, November 26th, December 24th.
oh yeah,
November 26th.
Did you folks actually make a decision whether you're gonna meet or not on the 26th?
I don't think we did.
No, you didn't.
November
Or maybe we did. I feel like we discussed something. Maybe that
We
was-
discussed it, but I don't know.
did that-
So, yeah, so what I recall is that if we don't meet, the treasurer can still generate payroll and payables and signed, and the checks will get signed because of the policy that you folks put in place. Looking at the schedule, let's just confirm that folks can meet next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do not.
I really need to know because the fire department is on the agenda for next week. It's strictly fire department. It's gonna be budget, it's gonna be model plan, it's gonna be the public safety special fund, and we need to discuss the fire department reimbursement ordinance.
Oh yeah, that thing. So I can meet on the 19th.
I can meet on the 19th.
That's two of us.
I can meet.
So 4 out of 5 of us.
Okay,
Okay,
So
question though, Karen, about that reimbursement
Ordinance.
That had landed on my desk, I thought. And it was on my agenda to be meeting with a few folks to pull that together. What were you thinking?
You are absolutely correct.
So when
so I bring it up because
you want it.
we need to complete it.
Yes.
We need to complete it.
Yes. Okay. It is on.
By next Wednesday.
I know, that's what I'm a little concerned about. I had two big projects. One was your evaluation and the other was the ordinance.
Right.
So,
It's okay. We can push that one item back. I'm not concerned about that, but the rest of the agenda for next week is important.
okay, good. All right, so you're not expecting me to come with that ordinance drafted up by next Wednesday, are you?
Not unless we meet together before then, but
And some of the other people who said they were gonna
yes.
on it too. I don't think we can do that before next Wednesday.
No, but let's discuss a date that we can
Okay,
potentially
that's
meet.
good. We'll make a commitment.
Okay. So then it brings the 26th, which is a regular select board meeting. It's the night before Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving Eve.
And I know we've been putting a lot of work in the last few weeks, and thank you very much for committing to doing budget discussions on opposite weeks. So,
What do you got going here?
I can't predict.
Oh, I see.
So the 26th, if you don't meet, we can still get payroll and accounts payable done. December 3rd, I would like to have a special meeting to finish up the general fund and the library.
And you've got town hall renovation on here too.
That too, but that's like still up in the air. So then December 10th would be your next regular select board meeting.
Hold on,
With-
hold on.
The third is a special.
Special, and then the other one is our regular, and that's not any special holiday, right?
No,
Right, right.
I can do the 3rd.
I can do the 3rd too.
I'm not sure if I can do
I
this
can't
third.
spell it, but
I have to change something if I'm going.
If you folks don't meet on the 26th, just know that December 10th might be a heavy agenda.
Is there a possibility of the 25th of November? That is it. Is that, we ran around this in the Passover discussion and
yeah, we did.
it was complicated as I recall.
I can't do Tuesday nights.
Tuesday night. Sometimes I can.
So there is a conservation commission meeting that night. But we can ask them either to reschedule or move their meeting to a different location.
I was planning on taking that day off, but that means I'm in Putney, so. I could do the 25th.
I think, yeah, I can.
I'm not sure I can. I'll look, but I don't.
Can we make it kind of short? Why would the 10th be heavy if we didn't do the, couldn't we put some of the stuff on the 3rd?
I'm trying to keep budget stuff separate from regular meeting stuff right now. I mean, it just makes it,
If you guys can all do the.
I mean, if we have to, Eileen, we could, but I'm trying to keep budget stuff separate.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Are we gonna do the 17th instead of the 24th also?
Well, let's get November 1st.
Yeah, let's get-
Let's stick with November for now.
I'm excited. I'm very excited.
I don't know.
Eric, you're looking.
Yeah, there's
Not working.
not gonna work.
Okay, let's
Let's
cancel that
let's
meeting.
just like not have a meeting that week. Let's be thankful for no select board meetings that week.
There you go. All right.
All right,
So
I'm gonna take that. 25th.
no meeting.
The other thing too is, for December 10th, depending on what might be on that agenda, it might be able to be moved, to a later date, so.
Well, next date is the 24th,
Right,
and
definitely not.
I will not, it's not gonna happen.
Right, and that's the other problem right there, Pat.
We do the 17th.
Can we do the 17th?
10/17.
Can we
Just
do the
crank them out.
17th, as Bex was
I
suggesting?
wasn't gonna mention that.
I'm free the 17th.
I could do the 17th.
So the 17th is not gonna work as a regular, because we won't have payroll and accounts payable. That's done, bi-weekly. I can't give you like 1 week of payroll. That won't work.
But we could do all the other things we have to
Yeah, we
do.
could do other things. I mean, you
Okay.
already
Takes them off the
have,
10th.
you already have authority for signing. So we just have to approve them after the fact in
All right, I'm
January.
gonna put tentative on the
Whatever.
17th, okay?
Okay.
The other thing too, we haven't started processing yet is town meeting articles. So I'm gonna throw together a draft and, maybe on the 10th, you're gonna see that. And you're gonna have to start thinking about articles for town meeting.
That's why it's good to have that meeting on the 17th.
Yeah,
Pardon.
Yeah, because come January, I think the latest we can have our articles adopted is January 28th, and we're not waiting that long, folks. It's just way too close.
you say.
Yeah. I'll bring you all in. You can help finish the town report.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay, so then the 24th. We decided,
Not me.
I mean, I'm not coming, I don't know about you guys. What do you?
No.
I think I'll be a little busy.
I mistakenly just looked at a text. I'm sorry.
Oh.
While I had my phone open, I was like, nope. Okay.
Okay.
I think I've got it. So 19th,
Delete.
3rd of December, 10th of December, and tentative 17th of December.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, moving on. We still need an executive session?
Yeah, it's gonna be really quick and no decision.
Does somebody have the statute?
It's right there on the,
It just says 2.
Yeah, it's not on our,
oh, I didn't put the whole thing, did I? Hang on. It's 24 VSA 313. To the negotiating or securing of real estate purchase or lease options.
What's the chapter?
24
Or 318? 313?
313.
There's
A,
no A.
number 2.
1 VSA 313.
That's what I thought. 24 is something else, isn't it?
all right.
VSA 313.
I don't know, while we're
So we're
figuring
going
that
into
out.
executive session,
I'll be right back.
one VSA
You
313.
got it? Okay.
Right.
All right, we've come out of executive session and we made a decision. Next meeting date is November 19th. And can I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Somebody missing there.